Hello, my name is Luke,
And my name is Tennessee.
and this is the 10 Minutes of Fame podcast. Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about a man named Gustavo Ermentrout, a half Spanish, half German peasant who lived in Germany in the 1340s.
Like most people around that time, he was a poor farmer who lived off the open field system. Gustavo personally lived off the land of a bishop.
With recent events of the COVID-19 pandemic, we thought it was timely to tell y'all his story. Spoiler alert, they had it way worse back then.
The first story we bring you today is about a time when he was doing his usual trading in the markets. With the prices so low due to the recent outbreaks in the time, he had a lot of people who wanted to buy things suddenly.
Unfortunately, Gustavo had a lot less food due to the cooling of his local climate, which was now known to have been a mini ice age. On top of this, he owed a lot of money to his landlord, so he had no choice but to sell all his food, leaving scarce amounts for his loved ones.
When Gustavo was found in this predicament, he had to divert to other money-making methods. This would involve pickpocketing, scamming, and selling food that was inequitable to his normal share. When he did these things, it made him lots of money that was quickly distributed to his landlord.
When Gustavo was at the market, he would sometimes encounter some interesting things. The most common of these were flagellants trying to repent for their sins from the Crusades that they thought caused the plague. Their method of repenting was whipping themselves, which would tear off skin and leave them with open wounds.
One fine afternoon in the plague-ridden central of Gustavo's town, he was looking to make some quick cash. He found a group of flagellants, like usual, and went to see if they would like to buy anything. These people were quick to reject his offers and went on with their torture. But Gustavo wasn't happy with this. So, Gustavo created a genius plan using his knowledge of these people.
But before we talk about the exploitation of religious people, we would like to tell you guys that a sponsor of this podcast, NordVPN.
Have you ever wanted to watch a show in another country?
No, I only watch Breaking Bad.
Well, what if you lived in the 1340s Germany? Then you couldn't watch American shows.
No, Jesse, we need to buy NordVPN.
And now using code 10minutes7582 I hate flagellants ha 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 ha. You can get your first 2 months free with the rest of the payment only being double price of normal.
Make sure to check out NordVPN. Now, let's get back to Gustavo.
Anyway, Gustavo decided to enact a plan to get the flagellants to believe that buying his crops would repent for their sins. He went up to them and asked, "Would you like to not abuse yourself and go to heaven?" Everyone thought about it and said yes after they heard these terms. When Gustavo realized their incompetence, he led them over to his stand to get them to buy as much as they could at very, very high prices.
The flagellants became very skeptical, but Gustavo very quickly reminded them of his lie and they continued to buy from him. However, what Gus didn't know is that like many flagellants of the time, these ones were carrying the Black Plague.
Gus became infected through this interaction, but didn't realize for a bit because he was hyper focused on paying off his rent. Although, a couple days after the interaction with the flagellants, he started to feel more abdominal pain and become very weak and fatigued. He would then come down with a very deathly sickness, and he couldn't work on the farms any longer.
Like many families of victims, his family was faced with a very difficult choice: to stay with Gus and risk getting infected, or to leave him and remain safe. Gus made this choice very easy for them, telling them to leave him and stay safe. Gus knew it was almost certain that he would die, and he didn't want to risk the lives of his family.
When Gus sat in the barn, trying to get better, he noticed the flagellants outside of his door. They walked inside and asked him if he was all right. He obviously stated no, and the flagellants were caring enough to try and give him some medicine to help him from his struggle, despite him scamming them and being very mean to them. It was almost ironic how much they were doing for him, despite him stealing almost all of their money and wasting their time with religious things.
Gus didn't want to risk their lives either, so he quickly told them to leave after they gave him the medicine, but he made sure to say thank you. It was the least he could do. The medicine was a kind gesture, but it didn't seem to help much. He noticed black patches on his fingers and toes, telling him that he would die soon. Gus died only 7.5 hours after the interaction, but he was at peace knowing his family was okay and they had a chance at surviving.
Now, if only Gus used NordVPN, would he have been somewhere that did not have the Black Plague spread everywhere? This is a lesson for you all. If you aren't careful with our offer, you may die from a painful and agonizing disease.
On a more serious note, that was the story of Gustavo Umertraut. The Black Plague lasted only a couple more years after he died, and his family was luckily able to survive. We should all consider ourselves lucky to be living in this age and not back then, because as you can see, it was much, much worse back then. Also, consider buying NordVPN. They're a big supporter of us. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.